disk management part, which is again a small important part of operating system job. So whenever we have a new disk, right? So whenever we buy a disk, or whenever we see a new disk, it is generally, a blank slate, a blank magnetic slate. Okay, nothing is there on the disk. It is just a magnetic blank slate. So before using any disk, the first operation that we have to do is low level formatting. What do we mean by low level formatting? This is low level formatting, also known as physical formatting. In this, the hard disk is divided into sectors. Okay, it is divided into sectors, and it is filled with a special data structures which is meant for each sector, right? So, and this only enables the disk controller to do read write operations. So if you remember, generally CPU, we have seen that CPU, when have an instruction to do any read write operation, it will send track number, sector number, and data, or the bytes, data bytes that is read or write depending upon the operation or instruction. This information is come to the disk controller. Now, to make a disk controller eligible to perform this operation, we have to make the disk in a proper format. Okay, and that formatting is known as low level formatting. So in case of low level formatting, we generally divide the disk into sector and then fill these sectors with special data structure. And what do we mean by this special data structure? This special data structure, which is meant for each sector, contains three information. First is the header part. Header part is nothing but the sector number. Okay, so we already seen that each sector is identified by a unique number. So that this header part contains the number, sector number. Then we have the second part, which is the data area. Okay, so the second part is the data area. And in the end, we store a trailer part, and trailer part is nothing but the ECC code, error correction code. Okay, and this is computed on the fly once the data has been stored. So as per the bytes stored in the area, according to that, operating system will calculate error correction code, okay, and stored it in the trailer part of the sector. So generally when you look at the sector, okay, there is something called sector number, then we have the data stored, and in the end we have ECC code stored for that sector. And this ECC code is helpful in letting the operating system know about any kind of error, or bad sector or things like that, right? Okay, so this is the first step we have to do, and generally this is done at the factory level. Okay, so when we purchase a hard disk, it is coming with a low level formatting. It is done at the factory level only. The second thing that we need to perform is the operating system have to record yet another data structure into the hard disk. Okay, so to make the hard disk eligible to hold file, or to make the hard disk so that it can hold file, operating system need to record data structure on the disk, and this can be done in two steps. The first step is a partitioning step. Okay, in this, what happen, operating system will divide the group of cylinders into different partitions. You might have seen in few systems there is a C drive, then there is this B drive and E drive, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is called a logical partitioning of of the hard disk. Okay, so what operating system will do, it will select few cylinders. I hope you all know what the cylinder is from the last lecture, and this group of cylinders is called one partition. Okay, and there is some sort of name associated with that partition, right? And this partitioning can be used for different purposes. For example, operating system will say, okay, all the executable programs were installed in C drive, all the documents we will kept in D drive, and a user can choose any drive for different purposes, right? So this is kind of a partitioning which we have to do, or the operating system has to do. In the second step, operating system will do logical formatting. And by logical formatting, I mean that it will actually create a file system, okay, or make all the data structure which is required for the file system. Okay, so operating system stores initial file system data structure on the disk, and this data structure, this file system data structure, will map all the free slots or the free sectors which are available and allocated sector. All the information is stored with this file system. Okay, so we will see file system in detail in in the subsequent lectures. But for now, please remember that you cannot use a hard disk before this partitioning and logical formatting is done by the operating system. Okay, you cannot write anything on the file. So if you observe, everything that we are writing on a hard disk is nothing but a file, whether it is a program file, it is a media file or a video file, a picture file, or a text file, or any type of file. Okay, so everything that we are doing is a file, and there is this file system which will operate it all. Okay, so it is required to store a or to install a file system before using any hard disk. Okay, so this is done by, again, operating system. Then there is another important management thing that operating system has to look into, and that is boot block initialization, right? So in the hard disk only, there is a fixed partition or fixed location that the processor can start or start executing when the power when we power on our system or when we restart our system, right? So there is a fixed location in the hard disk where the boot program or the program which will actually start a computer or the operating system is installed. Okay, so this boot, it is called bootstrap program or bootstrap program, right? And this is generally stored in the ROM, which is called read only memory. Okay, so there is a fixed partition in the hard disk which is read only part, read only memory you can call it as. And the CPU know, so this is a fixed location, and CPU know where we have to start the execution. Okay, and what is written, bootstrap program is written in this part. Okay, and since it is a read only memory, so it cannot be infected by virus because nobody can write anything on it. Okay, the only problem of this bootstrap code which is written in ROM is that, suppose if you want to change the operating system, then you have to change this particular hardware. Okay, so the alternative of this is bootstrap loader program. Okay, and please remember that the job of this bootstrap program is to initialize all aspect of the CPU. Okay, whether it is CPU registers or controllers, content in the main memory, locate the kernel onto the disk, load it in the memory, jump to the first instruction. Okay, start execution from there, etc. So everything is done by this bootstrap program. Now, what do we mean by bootstrap loader program? So, in previous system, the actual kernel is written in ROM. But what if we have to change the kernel or we have to change the operating system? We have to replace this particular part of the hardware. Okay. So the alternative solution is, now generally in this ROM, bootstrap loader program is written rather than bootstrap program. Okay, so there is this tiny bootstrap program, loader program, which is stored, okay, in the ROM, and the only job of this program is to bring the full bootstrap program from disk to memory. Okay, so the bootstrap program is now written in disk rather than in ROM. right? So what is ROM? ROM is a read-only memory. This is a separate hardware. So now people, what people will do, it they will store the bootstrap program in the disk, and in ROM there is this bootloader program who will load this from disk to main memory and go to the first instruction of this program and execute the program, which will eventually start the operating system and initialize all the aspects of system. Okay, is it clear? Any question in this? So now again, this is, this is comes under disk management. Now, since disk is a moving blocks, because everything is rotating, and it may be possible that it is very prone to failure because it is having a small tolerance. It is moving so fast. The space is so less between the head and the the splinter that is rotating and the platers that are rotating. So generally, it may happen that one or two sector get defected. Okay, there are problem in some of the sectors. So it is very important to identify those sectors, also known as bad sectors or bad blocks. Okay, to identify those bad blocks, because once we write the data in such blocks or sectors, that data will be lost. Okay, we cannot guarantee the integrity of that data. So how those sectors can be identified? So as I told earlier, ECC code or the error correction code is used to check the integrity of the data. Okay, and how it can be done? So it is quite simple. Whenever operating system writing some data onto the disk, okay, the ECC code will be calculated and stored in the area. Okay, whenever read operation is, so during write operation we write ECC code as well. When the read operation is performed on the fly, OS will calculate the ECC code again. If that ECC code matches with the one which is stored on the hard disk, then we can say that the data is consistent. Okay, data integrity is maintained. If this code does not match with each other, it means there is some corruption that is happened in the data area part. Okay, and we declared the sector as bad sector. Once the sector is declared as a bad sector, operating system will keep record of such bad sectors, and it will follow some method like sector sparing method or sector slipping method to you know um, make the copy of the remaining data which is available on that sector. Okay, so sector sparing, in sector sparing it is quite simple. So what we will do, suppose sector number 7 is bad sector. Okay, so what we operating system will do, operating system will find another spare sector. Suppose sector number 21 is a spare sector. Okay, so operating system will copy all the data from sector 7 to sector 21 and declare this as a bad sector and will not use it further for any read write operations. Okay, so this is sector sparing or forwarding. We are forwarding this data to some other sector. There is another method called sector slipping method. In sector slipping method, generally what we'll do is, so suppose sector 21 is a spare, or this is an empty sector which can be used, unallocated sector. We will copy everything from sector 20 to 21, 19 to 20. We will keep on doing this until sector 8 becomes empty. Okay, and we will copy sector 7 to sector 8 and declare this as a bad sector. So this is a simple method called sector slipping. So each and every way is having its own pros and cons. Depending upon the operating system, it follows some or the other mechanism to manage these bad sectors or bad blocks. Okay, so this also comes under disk management. Any question? Okay, so this is a sample of
Ma'am,
yes,
if a sector is bad sector, then it can't be used further. It can't be used further.
it can't be used further. Okay, so operating system will keep a record of all the bad sectors also. Okay, all right. So sector 0 is boot block. boot block means where bootstrap program is stored. Okay, then we have our file system stored, then we have some root directory structure which is stored, and then we have the data blocks. Okay, so in this manner, generally in the hard disk layout will be in the actual operating system, right? Okay, so now there is another notion of swap spaces. Okay, so what do we mean by swap space and what do we mean by swap space management then? So, generally, you have seen that we have a limited amount of RAM with us. Okay, and we are giving a processor all the processes impression that we are having infinite, or the process can use infinite amount of RAM. Okay, or the entire RAM is for that particular process only. Okay, and you have already seen that this can be done by virtual memory and all. Now, what virtual memory will do, in order to give that feeling to the process, virtual memory uses disk space as an extension of RAM or main memory, right? And that particular space is called swap space, right? So there is a space in the hard disk. So swap space is a space in the hard disk which is used, in virtual memory cases. All right, so using swap space significantly will decrease the system performance. Why? Because swap space is nothing but a space in the hard disk, and the more you use the swap space, the more you will increase the disk accesses. And we have already seen in the last lecture that the disk accesses are very, very, very time consuming job, right? So actually you are decreasing system performance. So to use these swap spaces efficiently, or to store or to maintain this swap space efficiently, is another job of our operating system, right? So there are two ways in which swap spaces can be maintained. One possible way is swap spaces can be carved out of a normal file system. Okay, so since file system is already there on the hard disk, operating system can assume that swap space is nothing but a big file. Okay, so if there is a 4 GB of swap space, so it is nothing but a big file of 4 GB where we can perform some read write operations, right? So whenever there is a requirement to shift or to allocate swap space for a page which is forced out of the physical memory, instead of putting it back to the hard disk, you will put it into this particular file which is nothing but a swap space. Okay, so one possible way is to carve swap space out of a normal file system. Okay, what is the advantage of this particular idea? The advantage is you have to do nothing extra, everything is already there. Just assume that swap space is nothing but a big file, and you can use all your read write routines, existing routines that you are using for file system, for swap space as well. Okay, the problem is you have to navigate through all the directory structure and disk allocation which is required when we access any file. The data structure that is there for the file, you have to use or go through that data structure in order to go to the file, and this will increase a few more disk accesses. Okay, and there is a problem of external fragmentation in the file. So when we learn about file allocation, we will see there is a problem of fragmentation, and it will persist in this case also, because it is nothing but a file. So all the problem that is associated with the file is with this swap space as well. Okay, but this is a good way and one possible way. The other possible way to have swap space is make a separate disk partition which is dedicated for swap space. No file system is installed in that particular area. It is dedicated for the swap space. Okay, so depending upon the operating system, many operating system uses different type of swap space management. So there are few examples like 4.3 BSD. Okay, this particular version of Unix allocates swap space when a process start. Okay, so as soon as the process start, it allocates swap space to that process. So for each process, it allocates the swap space. It doesn't matter whether it is forced out of the physical memory or not. Okay, so and it generally maps two swap maps to maintain this cases. So one is for text segment and other is for data segment. So text segments store the entire program that is the process is executing, and the data segment store the data which is required by the process. Okay, so in this we are having diagram of such swap maps. So this is the text segment swap map. Text segment means program. Okay, program is stored. So program is of fixed size. Okay, in the swap space there is this data structure called swap map. It is nothing but each location will store the pointer to the program which is stored in the disk. Okay, so these are few instruction. After that this has to be run, after that this has to be run, so on so forth. Okay, so this is text segment swap map, and there is another swap map for data segment. Now data segment is little complicated because it will grow and shrink at the runtime. It is not fixed in the beginning, but depending upon the data which is coming and going, operating system will maintain the data segment swap map. Okay, so this is, I am talking only about 4.3 BSD Unix version, but definitely, like for example in Solaris 2, it will allocate a swap space only when a page is forced out of the physical memory, not when the virtual memory page is first created. Okay, it is first created in the physical memory, but if there is a space problem in the physical memory and the page is forced out of the physical memory, then swap space, it is allocated to the swap space. Okay, but the thing I am trying to tell you here is swap space management is again yet another big task of operating system. Okay, yes, so any question till here?